Reapers Underground. We hope you survive.
Yes, indeed, my demons. It is time for that second shot to get poured of this triple shot Reapers Underground weekend. And I got a special treat for y'all. First of all, everybody that showed up last night to the cast and crew of Acrostar Films' upcoming Return of the Corn Zombies, you guys were so fucking amazing. I absolutely love y'all for that. But tonight, we have the legendary Bill D. Russell in the house tonight.
Hey, everybody!
Now, it was so funny because when I had a director on that had him in the film, and he happened to show up in the comments, I go, "It's Bill motherfucking Russell." He's like, "I got a new middle name." I was like, "Oh shit, I hope I didn't piss him off."
Not at all. Hey.
But we're going to be talking about his awesome career all the way from the beginning up till now, because he's got so many exciting projects going on. And before we get into all this madness, this is the time. If there's a Puppet Master fan out there, a fan of horror, indie horror, share it out. Share it right now. You know what to do. Wake your grandma up, your sister, your auntie. Care who it is. The big bad devil daddy told you so, so you better get it done. But before we get into all this awesome stuff, we're going to take a quick commercial break to our brothers at Villain Arts Tattoos. Check that shit out, folks. You know what to do. I tell you every single week. If Villain Arts Tattoo Convention comes to your state, your city, your town, get your asses down there. Get a high-quality tattoo from some of the best artists in the country. Check out the performers, the vendors, and, of course, you'll see my creepy ass hanging around there, too. Come on down and hang out. All right. Good evening to my brother Cody out there from Defiler of the Crown Art.
Oh, yeah.
My Dark Queen Mischief is in the house. Wants to say
hello there.
And also my demonic brother, Aaron, joining us tonight as well. So, and I'm sure there's going to be more and more as we go. Oh, look at that. He must have an iPhone because he's got glitter in the background.
I do. I don't. What was that about?
Whenever you get into StreamYard via iPhone, certain hand gestures will bring stuff.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I think I've only been on StreamYard one other time, so I'm not that used to the platform.
Oh, that's okay. Right here, before we get started, guys, since there are some of you in here tonight, thank you for showing up. I appreciate y'all. You know that. There's a special deal that's going to be starting tomorrow, so you better stay peeled to the Morgrot Entertainment page, Reapers Underground page on Facebook, It is my biggest deal of the year so far. We're so close to Halloween. It's time. You can get yourself one of the Reaper packages that you could ever ask for. I got too much in my hands. First of all, you can get my new T-shirt with the drawing by Johnny Necro of Frozen Dead Comics, a signed copy of Attack of the Corn Zombies, and a couple of my new all-weather stickers, all for $30. If you want, hit me up in Messenger, and we will get that sent out to you right away. Now, here we are.
Yeah, I do want to say before we go any further, I'm somewhere in the credits of Attack of the Corn Zombies. I can't remember if I'm a special thanks or what I am.
Yes, you did. You did get a special.
It's like way at the very end of the credits. Oh yeah, and Bill Russell gave us $5 or something like that.
But it helped. It you know, that's one thing we talk about here in the underground all the time, whether it's an actor, director, band, sideshow performer, it doesn't fucking matter. Whatever you donate, if you just show up to a show, if you buy a copy of one of these films, you are supporting what we do, and we appreciate that shit. So I did happen to notice that you were mentioned in that, and that's awesome.
And one thing I've noticed about being out and about is that movie has gotten a lot of attention. You know, people are always asking, do you know anything about Corn Zombies? Do you have copies available? I'm like, no, I'm not in it. So, but you know, it's obviously it's a very popular film. So people be getting a great deal if they take advantage of your $30 offer.
Absolutely.
The DVD alone is worth more than that, I think. So to get the T-shirt and the stickers, yeah. Here, I'm going to try to make. Can I make the? Nope, I can't get the fireworks. What if I do this? Does that translate it? Nope.
There we go. I think we definitely all saw that. Speaking of Johnny Necro, who designed this beautiful T-shirt.
Yes.
Is in the house. He says, Dr. Death Horridorables almost finished. So, as a matter of fact, he's going to have an artist rendering of that. So, definitely be looking out for that. Kyler, what's going on, brother? Mel Heflin is here.
Mel, hey, hi.
So the gang is all here. I mean, one big, happy, functional family.
Yeah. Yeah, Daddy.
Let's get it down to the fucking nitty gritty of this, man.
You betcha.
How did your journey into the dark underworld of horror begin for you?
Well, it started many years ago. I grew up with a fascination for the genre, certainly as a kid. And you have to remember, I'm very old, so I predate satellite TV and cable and any sort of physical media. The only way you could see a show is if a theater happened to rerun something, or it was on the TV late show. But thank goodness the channel I lived in rural Wisconsin. We couldn't even get many. I think we got 3 TV channels when I was growing up. But they loved Hammer. They loved Hammer and Universal Films. And that was on the late show like all the time. And a lot of Ray Harryhausen films. That's where I first saw, like Jason and the Argonauts and the fighting skeletons and the stop motion animation. I love that stuff. So I grew up reading famous monsters of the filmland and, related stuff like that. Creepy magazine, Vampirella. It was just never... I never, as a kid growing up in Wisconsin, you don't see yourself as that's a career path for you. Oh, I'm going to be a horror actress.
Right. Aaron says, I love Ray. He was next level.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, Hammer has touched probably every corner of this country. It was just one super special horror productions that put out some of the most memorable films And I talk about it all the time on the show. I was born in 76. Yep, I said it. So, I mean, I would get up on a Saturday morning, eat my cereal, watch the cartoons for Warner Brothers, you know, Bugs Bunny and those. And then at noon, that's when the great monster movies would come on with super hosts.
Right. Cool.
And of course, you always had Son of Ghoul on Friday nights to show you freakier stuff like, you know, Grizzly and the Abominable Snowman, all the great creature features that I always loved.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. So what kind of what led you further on this journey?
Well, then many decades later, this is the only ink I have right now. I need to see your tattoo friends and get something more. It's a labyrinth. It's
nice.
like that's my life. It's been this circuitous journey. So really, comedy was always like a big love for mine as a kid, and I grew up an outcast misfit. But you know, I got picked last for everything. I was one of those kids. So you develop a sense of humor and a love of comedy as a defense mechanism. So even though I loved the horror genre, it was comedy that I sort of felt was my wheelhouse to embrace. So I ended up doing. I was an improv and sketch comedy performer in Chicago for many, since I made my debut in the Second City Children's Show in 1983. And I've done shows at IO Theater, which back in the day was Improv Olympic, and at Second City. And then right before the pandemic for several years, I was performing at the Comedy Shrine in Aurora, which unfortunately no longer exists. The pandemic got it. Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
It's a long and sad story. Trust me.
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, the pandemic screwed some of the most iconic places for all entertainment, to be honest. Johnny says, horror comedy shaped my career path early on. Hell yeah. You know, Bruce Campbell. Right. I mean, we had a wealth, I always kind of floated between Bruce Campbell, John Candy, Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, early on in his career. Oh, he just, and then of course, Saturday Night Live, as we got into the 90s, you had your Jim Carrey and Chris Farley, all those guys. I understand exactly.
I knew Chris not real well, but we both worked in the same circles in Chicago theater. He was an awesome guy. I mean, at that time, it was him and Steve Carell and Amy Poehler and Andy Dick was around. There was just this wealth of talent that I was fortunate enough to be around back in the day, back in the 80s and early 90s.
That's amazing. I mean, and laughter was definitely a defense mechanism for myself because I was always the kid. And then all of a sudden I turned into a giant and everybody left me alone. So, okay. So what was that? Well, I mean, obviously, like you said, you had a hell of an experience with all those amazing comedians as well. So what was that like for you?
It was a frustrating time I mean, it's like there was a lot of really wonderful and exciting things that happened, and then I worked for the Chicago Tribune for almost 30 years. That was my full-time job. So when I started doing Improv Olympic, I was working full-time and then at the theater pretty much every night and on the weekends. So it became very draining, and like many improv comic, I drank heavily for most of that time as well. That all takes its toll. But it was a fun time, an exciting time. It's so much. If you go to IO Theater now and take classes, they're nothing like. Del Close was a crazy man. He was a witch. He invoked demons. He was a member of the Psychotronic Film Society of Chicago. He was a priest in the Church of the Subgenius, which was like a satirical religious organization. And he was in the remake of The Blob. He was actually in one of the earlier Blob movies. But then in 1988, when they remade it, he played a priest, a Catholic priest, in the movie. And I always remember he came in one day after he'd been on set. And he's cackling as he had this wonderfully evil cackle. He's like, "Yo, guys, you won't believe what I did today." "What'd you do, Del?" "Well, I had to film in my priest outfit, so I wore my pentagram underneath it just to give myself something a little extra." But we didn't have classes so much; they were workshops, and he would come in and like tell these long rambling stories, and then at some point Del would get to he was a very heavy pot smoker, and he'd get to the point where he'd say, "Well, the other night I smoked a shit ton of weed, and I thought, wouldn't it be fucking cool if we did this?" And whatever he'd thought up when he was stoned, we would get up on stage and see if we could do it or not. So it was very different from what that scene is like today. It's like, and Del directed at Second City. Del directed the company when it was Bill Murray and John Belushi and Harold Ramis. And when I worked at Improv Olympics with Del, the troupe I worked with, one of my troupe members was Joel Murray of the Murray family. Wow. His brother Bill would, be around once in a while hanging out. We spent a whole afternoon actually with Bill Murray and Sidney Pollack. Like workshopping a film that never got made, but they were having trouble with the script. And it was Bill and Brian Doyle Murray, Jamie Gertz, C. Thomas Howell, Bud Cort. And we were all just like improvising on stage, trying to come up with the script for these guys.
Oh, man.
So that was like, and of course you didn't have cell phones, so you can't record all. But yeah, right. it was a very fun time, and I'm glad I had that experience.
I mean, it transfers so well into film, period. Especially the indie world of horror, because I mean there is some very awesome comedic aspects to it that I think people love so much, and that's what mainstream media film today is missing. Yeah. There's that magic, that spark. So
and I'll point out, at least from my perspective, and I think a lot of others, what we were doing with Improv Olympic is what is called long form improvisation. It's not like whose line is it, where you're just doing these fast games and getting laughs. We would do like a 40 to 50 minute set based on a suggestion from the audience that at the end of it, hopefully made sense. It was a story. It didn't necessarily have to be funny, because oftentimes the comedy came from the actors on stage make a discovery and the audience makes a discovery with them, and the reaction is to laugh. If you did that again, it wouldn't be funny, but because it's a discovery happening in the moment, there's something extra to it. So yeah, Del's idea was he wanted to be able to improvise a one-act play. Didn't necessarily have to be comedic. And oftentimes, I remember doing an improv scene with Susan Messing at the Annoyance Theater about me dying of brain cancer, and she needed to get my signature on her homework. So it's a very serious matter, but we found the humor in the real life situation.
And there's nothing wrong with dark humor. I mean, I think
hell no. No.
Great Universe know a little bit about Reaper's dark humor. This is a place where people laugh, and it's a great way to, I don't know, self-medicate on some of these long nights. And that's the beauty of film, and
laughter's good medicine.
It is truly the best. As a matter of fact, Aaron says one of the things I loved about the movie Wolf Cop was the humor. I mean, it was like over the top hilarious. So, oh man,
I have to see that one yet.
Oh, trust me, it's worth it. We did a whole episode of the horror barbecue on it that I think you'll absolutely love. It's got clips and everything. So.
All right, I'll check it out.
Sweet. So you're doing this amazing work. So how did this kind of catapult you into wanting to get into? I believe did you start in commercials first, or did you do a feature or a short or something?
Well, during that period of time when I was in the first few years that I was doing improv and sketch comedy, I got an agent and started auditioning for, it's commercials, films, what they call industrials, which is like when you make the training video for the people at W.W. Granger.
I'm fantastic.
I'm not in SAG anymore, but I got into SAG originally. This is back in the 90s, doing industrials.
Wow.
Which nobody's ever going to see them other than somebody learning how to do proper communication skills in the workplace or whatever. And the film work. I mean, I was a background extra on Home Alone, the airport scene where Catherine O'Hara's at the counter saying, "My son is home alone in Chicago," even though we were in Chicago. There's like the crowd walking back and forth behind her. I'm one of those people. And we just kept walking back and forth behind Catherine O'Hara. I was Tom Sizemore's stand-in for the scenes shot at the Field Museum for The Relic.
Oh, I love that film.
Yeah, the scenes with him and Penelope Ann Miller. I did the camera walkthroughs, and then he'd come out and I'd say, Here, start here and walk to here. And he'd say, "Thank you, Bill. I do appreciate that."
That's awesome.
I had things like that. I was a referee in a movie called Wildcats. You watch the movie, you won't see me that you'd recognize, but I got to work with Goldie Hawn, and she was amazing. She was just like the nicest, most down-to-earth person. So I did, as far as film work, that's really all I was getting. I had a couple small parts like on recreations of America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries. But commercials were really what I started to get into in the 90s. Primarily the infamous Blockbuster commercial.
Which I got to see, by the way.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
That's an awesome one. I'm so happy
that's had a resurgence, that it was in the last Blockbuster documentary. Anytime you see like a nostalgia article online, it'll be in there. At least people know I didn't just wake up 5 years ago and say, "Oh, I think I'm going to be an actor." I've been doing this for a while.
Exactly. Ann, how's it going? Ann Myrna in the house.
Hey, Ann.
And that's one of the things that I really wanted to show the Morgrat universe is just how much you have done. People don't realize that. I mean, this day and age, things are so weird. It's fast delivery information with not a whole lot of emphasis on everything that has been done in the past. Especially with new actors, aspiring actors and stuff like that. It's good for them to know how, there are so many different facets to the industry that film is not the only place to start. And I mean, you were in some iconic things. And like I was saying before, I wish I could have seen one of your training videos because I would have been like, yeah, that's my idea of an instructor. I probably would have not fallen asleep halfway through. I would have been like, I'm with you, Bill. I'm there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, my goodness. And let's face it, we miss Blockbuster. Man, I was so sad to see that chain go. There are so many fond memories. So many of us have had
Right.
fond memories of that chain, because it was like the thing to do on a Friday or a Saturday night. Let's get all the new releases. What came out? Everyone was
Right.
so excited. You know what I mean? Now it's like, oh, I got to pay, you know, blah, blah, blah on the streaming service. Here, there it is.
Right.
What's exciting about that? Nothing.
Yeah.
Physical media.
I agree. And I'm still a big fan of the movie theater. If I can see it on the big screen, I am a happy man. Thank goodness there are still places that do that, you know, that show.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And there's some that on certain days, you know, they're not trying to take your entire income
Right.
for a month just to watch it.
And speaking of Blockbuster, one of the things my homie Rob and I are planning is we're going to drive out to the last Blockbuster in Bend, and we're going to record this and make a little documentary. And we're going to go into the last Blockbuster, and I'm going to attempt to rent Puppet Master Dr. Death and see if they have it in stock. And Rob's in contact with all these people. He knows Taylor, who made the documentary, and he's been in touch with. So it's like this will happen probably before the end of the year.
Fuck yeah. You should
Yeah.
absolutely do that. So after all these, you know, what was your first feature?
Okay. So we'll.
Everybody
I'm trying to think what would qualify as that. I worked on a thesis project for a guy graduating from Columbia School of Filmmaking in Chicago. That was a feature-length film called Johnny Verbeck's Machine, and I play a butcher who is kidnapping the neighborhood dogs and grinding them up into sausage and selling the sausages to my client, you know, my customers.
Yeah.
And eventually, of course, I get fed into the grinder.
Oh.
And I got to do a scene where I kidnap a dog at a birthday party. I show up as a clown with the very basic multicolored clown wig and red nose.
Right. I mean,
But of course,
you know,
I've
scary.
got a copy of it on VHS, but it isn't available anymore. So then fast forward, I would, probably Evil Lurks was the first feature-length thing that I got offered.
And what an amazing film that is.
Yeah.
For probably most everybody in here right now that was present for the Chris Shern interview, which
Right.
was the mastermind behind that. I mean, your scenes in that film, I mean, they stand out. They just make the film so much fun. It brings a little bit of that factor. The creep. I mean, you were there. the creepy factor, you know, of you and the younger cast member.
Yeah. Savannah.
I'm always forgetting her name. Dang it. But thank you for that. And that scene there, it was so back and forth, so quick-witted, so believable. And then, you know, I don't want to give too much away about the film, obviously.
Right.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your character in that film?
And my character, I was basically cast as the so-called comic relief in the movie. I had to replace another actor that had to drop out for I forget what reason, but and I know Chris told the story last week. And Joe DiBartolo recommended me. I sent in an audition, and they liked it, so they used it. So I play kind of a neighbor best friend of a man who's he and his wife have adopted a young girl who was the daughter of a woman who had been taken advantage of by a therapist.
Right.
Anyway, I have an inappropriate crush on this 14-year-old girl that is the foster daughter of my neighbor.
Right.
And yeah, and then she takes advantage of that because unbeknownst to me, she's possessed by a demon, and she comes over to me and wants me to kill her parents. And
that exchange was
I tried to kill them.
Right, you sure did. And as a matter of fact, I know we had shown it before, but I'm going to go ahead and show that trailer again.
Okay, cool.
For evil lurks there. Johnny says, just realized you two almost look like you could play relatives. Hint, hint, hint. I know what you're talking about, brother. For me to work with the great Bill D. Russell would be an honor, a privilege.
Well, likewise.
I mean, most deaf. But let's definitely check this one out. I'm just going to make sure I know exactly where it's at. Oh, nope. Actually, I don't have one. I have the other one. My bad. So actually, we can pin that together because you're currently involved with another one of Chris Chern's creations as well. Let's talk about that one a little bit.
Correct. Vic Effects is what it's called. I couldn't convince him that the title sucks because I don't think it tells anybody about anything about the film. You have to explain it. Well, Vic is her name, and the effects is, but it's Chris's movie, and by the time it comes out, everybody's going to know what Vic Effects refers to. So it's all good.
I honestly say at the first look, I had no idea what it was going to be about.
It's like Vic Effects. Thank God, though, for that poster, because you can tell something's going on in that poster.
Oh, yeah.
So I play a filmmaker, sort of like a Wes Craven type of, an infamous, or Toby Hooper maybe, whose movies are known for the very eerie sound effects and soundscapes that come with them. And my long time, they're called Foley artists, the people who do the sound effects for a movie. My longtime Foley artist passed away, and I come to a young woman played by Amanda Winston, who is an up and coming Foley artist, and I asked her to come and work on my new horror film. And reality and filmmaking begin to blur, and it's like she becomes part of this movie. But yeah, if you I think I really like the trailer. I think the trailer does a good job of setting up what this is going to be.
Exactly. And we'll talk a little bit about it after I go ahead and roll that one, since that's the one I got. So sorry about that. Here we go. This is Vic Effects. Check it out.
Woo!
And
I want to see that movie.
Absolutely. After Chris had talked about it, I was like,
Ann Myrna was in there briefly.
Yeah.
The person in the studio toward the end there, that was Ann, I believe.
I believe so as well. I think that this film is going to spark a bunch of other films after talking with Chris on that.
Yeah.
And yep, Ann goes the screamer. Yep. So many different dimensions. It's almost like an anthology within one film, because there's
kind of
yeah, in a way. So I'm very excited to see that one come out. And here at Morgrot Entertainment, we will definitely keep you up to date on the progress of when that may come out in the future. So stay tuned. So obviously, we want to address one film that is very near and dear. Actually, it's a bunch of films, but this one is no short of utter magic. I became as a young man at the age of, let's see, 14, I think it was 14 or 15, when I first became acquainted with Radu, the great vampire of Full Moon Entertainment subspecies. I know some of you there know what the hell I'm talking about. Full Moon Entertainment has been synonymous for not only that franchise, but the Puppet Master franchise as well. And so exciting that they gave Dr. Death his own film. So this is pretty much standalone for this particular character. So how did that come about?
You mean them deciding to make a standalone? I have no idea how that. What's that?
How you got involved with it?
Oh, wow. It was pretty unexciting. There's several casting platforms, and you should be on them if you're not, Steve. Actors Access is one of them, and that's like one of the main ones that filmmakers will post breakdowns of films they're making, or your agent will get you your audition through this platform. Anyway, it was the second time I'd responded to one of their audition notices. I'd done a self-tape a few months earlier for the latest Baby Oopsie movie. Didn't hear anything from that. So then I did. Then they posted the notice for Dr. Death. I sent in a self-tape of one of the characters. Then I had a callback Zoom with Dave Parker, the director, and he had me read for a second character. And then when the casting director, Jessica Hughes, emailed me and said, "We're offering you a job," it was for a third character. So I thought, that's kind of interesting. But even though I have limited screen time, and I have a lot of screen time, When I embrace, when I had this epiphany, okay, I'm going to try to promote, because Puppet Master has an audience. I'm going to try to promote myself that way.
Sure.
Oh, good. Now I lost. Where was I going with that, Mr. Reaper Man? I used to just, I'd say, yeah, I was in Puppet Master Dr. Death. I'm the guy who dies at the beginning. And I reframed that as, yeah, I play Max Kuda. The Puppet Master, the Dr. Death puppet is found, locked in my trunk. And they talk about the character through the entire, I tried to make it more like, he's very instrumental to the story, because my character is how Dr. Death got there in the first place.
Exactly.
So I said, okay, I'm going to spin it that way, and that seems to be working.
I mean, I wouldn't care if, I got my head
to my water.
Oh, no worries. I wouldn't care if I got my head decapitated, at the beginning of a Full Moon Entertainment film, just to say that I was the son of a bitch. If my head kicked off, I'd be like, I've arrived. I've said it for years. If Kane Hodder ever wanted to take a machete, just cut off one of my arms or something, and I fall down like a little bitch. Please, let's do it. I don't
Absolutely.
So, don't sell yourself short, man. I mean, the film is fantastic. And, there's one thing that I think, I don't know, you might know this as well, obviously. You've been in the business a very long time. There are a lot of directors that look for people that can die believably on camera. It does take talent. I honestly, I feel you nailed it. But we're definitely big fans of the film here at Morgrod Entertainment, and all the addicts out there in the comments section.
Well, I'll give a shout out to Dave Parker, the director. because I'm lying on this gurney strapped down, and Dave's sitting over by the camera, but he kept like yelling things out to me. He goes, okay, now imagine you're like your whole spine is on fire, or now there's bombs going off over here. Now you're like almost asleep, and then Dr. Death comes up over your head. He'd feed me all this stuff, and I just react to whatever he was lobbing at me.
That's awesome. At least you didn't go.
It was a much better scene than if he had just said, "Okay, scream for 2 minutes and die." He was amazing.
It's not like you were going, "Oh, help, Drat, this is terrible."
Right. Help.
Right.
I am in distress.
Because I've seen some stuff where there's been actors that do that very thing, and I'm just like, oh no, that you
one of my favorite death scenes though is Paul Rubens in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's iconic though.
So fucking funny.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was perfect because that's how it needed to be.
Absolutely.
We're gonna go ahead and check out the trailer for Puppet Master Dr. Death real quick.
Yeah.
Our residents passed away last night. What happened? Heart attack.
Generally, I like to ease the new staff in, but these things, well, they happen. Max had no living relatives.
So then what happens to all this stuff?
What do you have there? It's like Christmas.
Having served his country in World War II, Max led an illustrious life.
Would anyone else like to say something about Max?
Did you hear about what happened to Mr. Abbott? No, what about him? They found him in the funeral home, mutilated. Check on the residents. Her oxygen tube, it looked like it was yanked out.
Oh, great. Clearly the sign of a deranged serial killer.
It's okay. You're safe. Do you remember anything of what happened?
I know what I saw.
I love that little guy, right?
Oh yeah. When I was getting that ready tonight, I was like, damn it, I gotta get myself a bone saw prop. Because I forget it. It's like, that's such a cool, like, I don't, some people, there's the bubble blowing chainsaw. Have you seen those? I know Justiflux, I think, has one. So I was thinking I should have something like that, like a syringe that blows bubbles or something. I want a bone saw. I want to get a bone saw. So yeah, this is the little guy right here. This is the little fella.
Yeah. I was just telling my wife tonight I want one so bad. I need one. I need one of those in my life. As long as it has your signature on it.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, well, that's what I do, and I do that already.
Nice.
This is my practice one. This is the one where I practice signing shit. How pathetic is that? It's like what you did when you were 12 years old. Remember, you'd practice your autograph instead of listening to the teacher. At least that's what I did. This is how I'll sign my name when I'm finished. And I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it.
Wrong with that?
That's how self-absorbed I am. And I'm proud of it.
I mean, I wanted my signature to stand out too. Mine's a little bit simpler. I just add like a little something in there that makes it unique. But other than that,
that's the thing to do, is give it your little whatever, that little bit of flair that is like, that's Reaper's signature right there.
Right? That was just awesome. So, I mean, you've done so much awesome stuff, and I absolutely love the fact that you sent me a video that has like it's almost like a best moments reel kind of thing.
Yeah, like a demo reel type thing.
Yeah, which we'll show in a little bit here. It really kind of shows so many dimensions, to everything that you do. And I had no idea that you were in Acrostars. They Came Back from Somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That was such a pleasant surprise.
That was such a fun role. I really enjoyed the hell out of it.
Absolutely, it's such an homage to those classic, black and white films, sci-fi style, but they're so tongue in cheek at the same time.
The flying saucer, the craze movies of the 50s. Most notably Plan 9 from Outer Space, and I was a Teenagers from Outer Space was another one I think was a big influence on Steve. Steve Herman, the writer. Did you see the first one? It Came From Somewhere. Have you seen that one?
No, I have not had a chance. I totally want to.
Are you familiar with Plan 9, though? Are you familiar with that movie?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I am.
Plan 9 begins with a celebrity psychic of the day, the amazing Criswell, does this like rambling introduction. So that's my contribution to It Came From Somewhere. I play the amazing Grimwell, and Steve Herman wrote this introduction that is just hilarious. I should have sent that to you as well.
Shoot. But that's okay.
But yeah, so they're companion films.
Right, exactly. Anne says, "You got to be mean to me."
Yeah, I did. I poked her in the chest with my scepter.
How many
know what
people
I mean?
They did that,
Right.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Sydney, what's going on? Sydney.
Oh, yeah. I think we just became friends on Facebook, like today.
Awesome. Anne says that sounded crude.
It was intentionally sounded crude, Anne. Anne knows me better than that.
It's a little spicy, Bill. It's a little spicy.
Yeah, that's Anne. That's Anne right there.
Sydney said, "We did." Smiley face. Who, as you may or may not know, is one of my co-hosts on the goddamn program on Saturday nights. So glad to see that she's been following cool people like yourself. Right. The more support we have from everyone, I mean, it just makes life, so much more.
Well, and that's the thing to me that is wonderful about getting involved in horror movie genre is just that entire community that exists out there. You don't have that in any other genre. I mean, the closest I can think of is, there's a comedy community, but it's not anything like the horror community. Certainly not as supportive,
Oh,
that
man.
to me,
And
that's
doing
been huge.
Yeah, from doing the Villain Arts conventions, the tattoo community is awesome because there are a lot of horror fans, but I'll tell you what, not like a full bona fide horror con. That is where you really get to see just how much people love everything that we all do, no matter what level, whether they were, classics from back in the day, to especially indie film, and they love physical media. Like that really means something. And it's so great to see that is still happening because.
And I have copies of They Came Back from Somewhere available, DVDs when I'm at conventions.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
You heard it here, More Broughton Universe. If you want to get some copies of some of the stuff Bill has been in, check him out at a HorrorCon. Don't worry, we'll be doing shameless plug a little bit later so everybody know where they can find you.
Sure.
And as I understand it, there's a lustful role that you to play, because I sometimes
Got a lust for Loomis.
right. Usually I ask, what's your favorite role, or what would be the role of a lifetime for you? So let's talk about your lust for Loomis for a second.
Well, I saw Halloween in a theater in Chicago when it in its initial run. So I go way back with Halloween. But just, yeah, I know, right? So I just, physically, there's just a resemblance. And so it's like, well, wow, if that's a type I could play, I would love to play that type of a role. Or Donald Pleasance, there's just, what's the Lord of something? There's a Donald Pleasance movie that I can't think of. God, I can't think of the name of it. And it's really creepy.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, that would be one of my favorite roles. The other one, and you and I have talked about this, Captain Spaulding. I would love to play. I'm very seriously considering doing a cosplay of
Cool. I've done
Captain
that too.
Spaulding.
So
Yeah.
We'll have to get my version and your version and get a photo.
Oh yeah, we should have dueling Captain Spaulding.
We should. Why not?
Fuck, why not? Well, and again, it's not like I went, oh, I love that character. I had people come up to me multiple times and say, do you know you look like Captain Spaulding? Or I hope you're not offended if I say this, but you look like Captain Spaulding. Even 2 weeks ago when I was in Indy, somebody asked me if I was supposed to be cosplaying Sid Haig. And I'm like, no, but I'm glad you see that in me.
Exactly. And I don't know. I've gotten it so much. I mean, that's what got me to do it. I think, what was it? I think it was either last October or the year before. I was like, all right, damn it. Let's see. And then I did a video after my wife had done the makeup for me because I didn't want to fuck it up. I totally did. And I found some clips on, I think it was TikTok, of his lines in the film. And I did it, and everyone was like, that's some fucking night and day. I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm like, he was very, very instrumental as a inspiration for acting.
Oh,
I'm going all the way back to the Pam Grier films when Sid was playing henchman. I mean, he was awesome as a henchman. Played it stone cold, and then to see him do that, oh man. So yeah, he's always been a kind of an inspiration on me. C.J. Graham, Boris Karloff. I mean, he was the original Frankenstein.
Right, yeah.
I always wanted to do creature feature, Sure. I don't care if a suit, prosthetics, you name it. You want to throw that shit on me? Let's go. I'd be more than happy to. So, I mean, I take it as a compliment, and I'm glad you're taking it as a compliment too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
All three of us are kindred spirits.
Yeah,
I could see it. Sure,
absolutely, man, absolutely.
Well, hey, let's talk about some of your upcoming stuff. You got a film on the docket called Field of Screams.
Field of Screams.
Sounds tasty as hell. Let's talk about that for a moment.
I play, again, I get to die in a movie. The movie opens with my character. I'm an elderly former Appalachian witch who now I have a big farm in Colorado or whatever. But I have somehow used my magical powers to bring a scarecrow to life that is my companion, almost like my son. But it's a scarecrow. And then I die. He's playing a trick on me. He jumps out and surprises me, and I have a heart attack and die. And now he's a living scarecrow without a master. So that's where he goes on a murder spree, because why not?
I mean, at least you went out sort of, more naturally, I guess, in this one.
It's actually going to be a pretty cool scene. It's yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I totally believe that, because I've seen so many actors try to pull off, somebody having a heart attack. Sometimes it's totally believable. Sometimes it feels like it's too over the top. So I can't wait to see your version.
To me, the danger is once you start pretending something. I'm going to pretend I'm a person having a heart attack. You're not being yourself, and it shows,
Totally believe.
Don't act. is what it comes down to. Fall down and stay there. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yes.
Unless it calls for something comedic,
Right. Absolutely.
Don't overdo it. That's the key. And it took me years to figure that out. Because being a stage performer for many years, you have to bring it way down for the camera, usually. Because you're not reaching an audience out in a nightclub. You've got a camera on you like a microscope. So
exactly.
It's how do I keep that energy but pull it in? And it took me a long time to figure that out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel that too, because coming from being on stage as the drummer in a metal band for 30 years, and now I did get a little experience because of some of the music videos I had done in the past, but still, when it comes to a film, it's a bit different. It's not the same, so I totally get that. Let's go ahead and check out the clip for Field of Screams. And then after that, we'll take a look at some of Bill D. Russell's finest moments. I swear you're going to love it, everybody. Check it out.
I ain't ever going to sell this. The Connollys will never own this land. Never.
Good thing he finally kicked it. I was getting ready to kill the old man myself.
Killer scarecrows? You guys are fucking.
Absolutely. That definitely looks like a good one. I've always said scarecrows are just, they're freaky to begin with, man.
They are, yeah.
Where
And that was the trailer they made for the Indiegogo, so it was before any filming was done. So it's technically not a trailer. That should be ready soon, and it's going to be, you're going to see how great it is. And the guy who plays Billy the Scarecrow, Randy Rochford is his name. He's a professional model. He's a runway model, but he's tall and lanky and very, just his body moves like a body should not move. So he's got a doctorate in movement, dance and stuff. I don't know what. He's just very, very talented. So he lends a very special element to it, because the scarecrow doesn't move like a human would move. And that's part of its charm.
Heck yeah. Which actually kind of reminds me of the film Trick or Treat from the 80s. The Sammy Kerr, the metal singer that died in a fire comes back and rocks the house and kills everybody.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the filmmakers cited that as one of their influences. That movie.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say the guy that plays the monster in that, Sammy Kerr, as he comes back, he was never an actor. He was a road dancer for like a bunch of different pop acts. So there's one of those moments where it works.
Oh yeah,
they can do things, move certain ways, do flips and all that shit that I couldn't do if I tried to, stick my leg behind my head or some shit like that. Break my hip off.
That's also David Howard Thornton is another one of those. Before he did Terrifier, he was a comedy actor and physical movement and stuff. He'd never done horror before, if I'm not mistaken, before Terrifier. But you bring that whole element of a comedic background and doing physical comedy. It's just nobody. I don't think anybody else could do art the way that David does.
I think the closest I ever got to doing like the physical comedy stuff is like I remember in high school. Okay, sorry folks out there, but we'd be drinking and having a good time, and of course everyone's always doing impressions. They're either doing Chris Farley or they're doing Jim Carrey back in those days, and of course I had to do my Chris Farley. This true story. Took it, drinking obviously. So I took a drink and then suddenly I just fell into a table and busted it in half like he does in Tommy Boy. And I was like, oh, I don't know how he did that because that shit hurt.
Oh yeah. I watched him several times when he was at Second City, and he would come on stage and just like belly flop onto the stage and slide across it, and then get up, and just like go on like nothing. It's like, how the fuck do you do that and not kill yourself? Oh, it had to be, my God.
It had to be cocaine. Come on. How do you not feel that the next day?
I know they did some of the shows on mushrooms. I know that for a fact.
Oh,
and it wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't coke involved.
So it is possible. Because I'm about to show myself. But I definitely want to take the time to show this awesome reel of the great Bill Russell in so many different awesome scenes. You guys are going to love it. And we'll be talking about how you can follow his work and where to get it. Check this out.
You're still too much of a limp dick. The perfect slaves in the Gorku Caves. I will be their supreme leader and manipulate the strings of their pathetic little lives.
The Supreme Leader have a plan ready to execute?
Not yet, but when I do, it will be Plan 8 and a half.
Supreme Leader is brilliant.
Dismissed. Was there something else, Sumo? Request denied.
Dismissed.
And I suppose you know nothing about a spaceship leaving without permission.
So what is that?
Its destination was Earth. Supreme Leader wants you to bring back 2 human specimens for experimentation. No one seems to mind when junkies disappear from the streets. Oh, child. Evil works in this house. It's time for you to go. No, it's time for the two of you to go, because evil works in this house. Evil works in this house. Where's your dad?
Oh man, that is what I call dying with style. And I love it because you get the dad first in Evil Lurks, right?
Right.
And then you're like, oh no, bitch. She starts running away. You're like, I got you too. Boop, gotcha. Oh man. So I just absolutely love that reel. And it shows you, like I said, everybody out there in the Morgrat universe, the depth of all the different great characters that Bill has brought to life. And so excited to see so many of your new projects. Can't wait for those to come out. And hopefully you do get to that point where you could be Loomis one day, because nothing against Malcolm McDowell, but you put his version. He did, but I still feel like if you put his version and then of course the great Donald Pleasance next to each other, Donald still kills it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think, just from a couple of the different roles that we saw in that video, I definitely think you could really give us an excellent version of Dr. Loomis.
Well, thank you.
So, all right, it is shameless plug time.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we know everybody out there in the Morgrat universe can find out where to find you, find your films, your awesome podcast as well. Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you.
The best place to start is probably Instagram. That's where Rob Whitcraft and I do a podcast. We just started doing this. In fact, I don't even think we're officially calling it that yet, but it is. Madman and Darogue Instagram Live. We do it Wednesday nights at 9. Like I said, we just had John Massari on recently. We've had several. I mean, we've only been doing it for like a month, a little over a month, but we were just having a good time. And we definitely were going to have you on. We've done live paintings. It's a party. We're just on there screwing around and having fun. So, Bill X Russell is my handle on Instagram and also on TikTok. I recently set up. I now have a Dr. Death Instagram as well.
Oh, nice.
I decided he needed his own Instagram. What the hell? Why not?
Absolutely.
But now that I started this, it snowballed from me thinking, gee, what if I added somebody cosplaying Dr. Death to add to my character, to me saying, why don't I just do it? That's who people like. And what I learned, my friend Travis Kuhn wore the outfit that I have when we were in Indy a couple weeks ago. Lots of people recognized Dr. Death. Just as many people had no idea who Dr. Death was, but loved the character and wanted to take photos. They just thought it was a cool character. So I'm like, hell, I'm going to write this.
Sure. I mean, that's a fantastical idea. Do you have any fun appearances coming up?
I'm crashing Flashback Chicago next weekend. I'm not an invited guest, but Full Moon always has a big presence there. I didn't meet Charles Band when we shot Dr. Death, but I introduced myself last year at Flashback, and I said, Mr. Band, I'm so happy to meet you. I'm Bill Russell. I play the guy who dies at the beginning of Dr. Death. And he said, I'm very sorry to hear that, and turned around and walked away. Seriously.
What? The fuck?
I've since come to learn that he's just an odd individual, and everybody's like, "Yeah, that sounds like Charles." So I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool, actually." Now I've got a story. I've got a story. So I'm just going to show up and put on the Dr. Death outfit and walk around and create trouble. And if they kick me out, they kick me out. Fine.
Oh, please.
But I doubt that.
Right, exactly. If you're in the Chicago area next month at Flashback, definitely if you see Dr. Death walking around, it's Bill.
I've got the outfit.
Nice.
Everything ready to go. Everything's ready to go.
Awesome. Any other ones coming up after that?
I'm going to be at the Dark History and Horror Con in Southern Illinois the end of August. Actually, I believe Heather Harlow and I are going to share a space. And then currently I'm scheduled to appear at a thing called Cannabis Connect, which is like a big marketplace for the cannabis industry on the East Coast. I'm still not 100% sure if that's going to happen or not, but it's still on the schedule. That'd be and then really nothing solid on the agenda until November. We're going to show Puppet Master Dr. Death at the Gardena Cinema in Gardena, California, on the big screen. We're going to make a big deal out of it. So that's going to be just like a big full moon features extravaganza. That's what it's going to be.
Fantastic. Cool. So there it is, Morgrite Universe. You know where to find Bill Russell. And obviously, if you're looking for copies of some of the films that he's been in, if you can catch him at a con or maybe just reach out to him. As you can see, he is humble as fuck, as most of us are in this industry, because the best creativity is in the underground. You won't get this in the mainstream. That is what the underground has always been about, and Bill definitely exemplifies that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So much appreciate you coming on the show tonight, and kind of like
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, you've given us so much insight to your awesome career. And the passion and the dedication that you have to your craft.
Thank you.
And definitely all the awesome people that showed up tonight, not only my viewers, but some of your colleagues as well. And I just think that's a testament to the good work that you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Like I said, we can't wait to see some of the upcoming projects that you're involved in. And once you start following Bill, you'll be able to keep up with all of that. He is very awesome, just like myself, at self-promotion and letting you all know what's happening and when. So
kindred spirits.
That's right. And don't forget, demons, part 2 of Return of the Corn Zombies tomorrow night at 8 p.m. CST. I will have a whole new batch of cast members, including S.J. Herman himself. We'll be talking about this sequel, and I get to see who I get to eat in the fall. So, again, thank you so much for sitting down with us here in the underground. Always
my pleasure, man.
Absolutely. Always keep one foot on the ground and one in the fire. And most importantly, when you see Dr. Death, say, stay heavy.